Don't forget that we're offering 2 free resources from our favorite positive reinforcement dog trainer, Irit Bloom of the Sophisticated Dog. Simply go to thisispawprint.com/ask and sign up.
She was scared. She was very young, very thin. It was a hot, hot day. They had called animal control to come get her, but they hadn't come yet. And I looked at her and I was like, we can't let her go to the shelter. They're just going to put her down.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 51. I'm Harold Rhee.
And I'm Nancy Rhee. Today's guest is Chrissy Gonzalez. Chrissy is a yoga instructor in the Chicago area and has some wonderful animal rescue stories. She shares her story about Lemmy, a German Shepherd, Abby, a Poodle mix, Ghost, an Italian Mastiff, and Saxon, a pitbull mix. If you want to learn more about Chrissy, her yoga classes, and see some beautiful dog photos, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/51. That's the number 51.
I'm Chrissy, and I am a full-time yoga teacher. I teach in Chicago, Illinois. I teach mostly at a gym out here called Equinox. They're all over the country. They're a really nice high-end gym. And I also teach at a smaller yoga studio called Namaskar Yoga, which is a really sweet neighborhood studio in Lakeview in Chicago. I started teaching yoga in LA about 15 years ago. I got trained at a place called Yoga Works, and I did about 700 hours of teacher training under my belt, and I just continue to do that. Every year I do a little more. I'm also passionate about animals. I've actually had taught for a few fundraisers where they raise money for different animal charities or rescues. I started doing that back in LA as well, and I've been able to do a few out here because there's a lot of rescues out here too. And I'm also big into nutrition, and I'm a vegan, so I share a lot of recipes with friends, and I help people discover that they could start to shift towards being more or eat more vegan food or have less meat in their diet, because I think it's just healthier for people as well as the environment. I'm big with environmental causes, and I try my best to keep my personal carbon footprint at a minimum. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Wow.
I love practicing yoga and teaching and just try to take care of the planet.
When did you start having an interest in yoga? And before yoga, were you into sports or any other kind of physical activities?
When I was really young, I was into ballet. My mother put me in ballet classes, and I loved dance. And then when I moved out on my own, I loved working out and sports, and not really like the competitive sports, but I loved working out with a trainer and doing sports type of workouts. I started training people in a gym, a small gym in Santa Monica, before I started doing the yoga stuff. A friend of mine was doing a teacher training, and she asked me to join her. And I was starting to really get into yoga myself, so I did it, and I just fell in love with it.
For those who maybe don't practice yoga or really are just getting started, what would you recommend as sort of first steps to get into yoga?
So I would recommend that they do some research, because too many people come to my classes that are a little more advanced, that have never done a yoga class before, and they're completely overwhelmed. There's a lot of different styles, different things that certain people like, certain people don't. I would go online and research some studios in their particular neighborhood. Just maybe go onto Yelp or something and check out the reviews. Find a studio that has good, decent reviews, maybe that's been around for a while. Take a beginner class. Some of these studios also have kind of a month-long beginner workshop, which is great for people who are brand new. So it'll kind of take you on a journey and give you an idea of what to expect, without actually being just throwing you in a class. If you have certain injuries or limitations, it's also a good idea to research different styles of yoga. The most popular style, I think, is vinyasa. That's what everybody talks about, which is a flowy kind of class. But it's not for everybody. There's another style of yoga called Iyengar, which is really, really great for helping people heal their injuries or focus more on alignment and things like that. There's yin yoga, which is more about just meditation and soft and restorative type of practice. So there's a million different things. It's not all stretching and flowing and everything like that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, too. That's really just the physical practice. There's also a whole spiritual practice involved too, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
And usually beginners, it takes a while for them to get into that as well. I was actually born in South America, in Venezuela. I moved to the States when I was a baby. We moved to the States, we moved to Miami, Florida, and that's where I grew up. I basically went to college there. I'd lived there all my life, and I wanted to move to California. My aunt lived in California. She's a news reporter for Fox. I would always visit her, and I just fell in love with LA and the mountains, and it was just such a different vibe. So I moved out there on my own, and I lived with my aunt for a while, and then I moved out by myself and had roommates and all this stuff, and basically lived most of my adult life in LA. And that's where I discovered yoga and a little more conscious eating, I guess. So before I lived in LA, I kind of ate junk food and trying to just start eating more vegetables. And
if someone was going to ask you, hey, Chrissy, I enjoy other athletics, I enjoy other sporting activities, why should I give yoga a try? Well,
I would tell them that, to me, you should definitely do other things. You should definitely do sports or workouts that make you get your heart pumping and a little bit of weight training too. Yoga is a great complement for all those things. You know, a lot of professional athletes have incorporated yoga into their routine. Even the soccer team that won the cup, they actually said that they practice yoga and they meditate. And that was one of the things that they said helped them go to that next level of their performance. There's a lot of focus on the breath, which is great for any kind of thing that you do. So I have marathon runners that come to my class, and they say that the breathing that we do in yoga helps them in their running, just keeping their breath a little more constant. A lot of people that do training and things like that, they learn how to align their bodies properly. So they incorporate some of the things that they learned in their yoga practice. It's actually healthy to do yoga, to practice yoga, and to do other things too, like whatever they like to do, running, swimming, hiking, sports, things like that. I think they go really well together. And I think in time, people are going to discover that yoga should be practiced by everybody in some form or another, just like a maintenance thing. Because as you get older, you're not going to be able to go so hard. But yoga is something that you can do forever. It really is you just got to change the way you do it.
How would you compare the Chicago yoga scene to the LA yoga scene?
I think the yoga scene in LA has been building for a very, very long time. A lot of the really big teachers are there. So there's great yoga in LA. But just hearing from my friends what's happening, it's gotten a little bit saturated. There's just a studio in every corner. It's like Starbucks. In LA, the studio classes and the gym classes get really, really, really full. You could say the same with New York too. It's the same kind of thing there. Whereas Chicago, there's a little more space. It is definitely growing here. It is. There's a lot happening in the yoga scene here in Chicago.
I'm completely in love with Chicago. I think especially if you can spend the time just getting to know the city, there's just so much just to enjoy in Chicago, in my opinion. So
it's a beautiful city, and summers here are magical. And it's just got that Midwest vibe, but it's still a big city. So even every time I visit New York, I think this is like Chicago, but dirtier and way more expensive.
Let's move on to your animal rescue stories. You want to just share some of the animals in your life?
We currently have 2 dogs and a cat. My husband and I have been married for 7 years. We were together 4 years before that. Our first dog that we rescued from the shelter was a German Shepherd. His name was Lemmy. Sadly, unfortunately, he passed suddenly. He was only 4 years old. He had a acute kidney failure. But he was just one of the best dogs. I mean, he was, we took him everywhere. We took him to the mountains. We took him to the beach. We took him camping with us. We took him on vacations with us. He had a really great life when he was with us. When that happened, we were completely shocked and very upset. My mother had rescued a little dog. When our dog passed away, she was actually going to be traveling overseas, and she asked us if we wanted to watch her dog while she was away. We said, yeah, we thought that would be actually great to have a dog around again and just help us heal. And this little dog was a puppy, and her name is Abby. She was a little poodle mix kind of mutt thing. She was just great. And then when my mom came back, she kind of felt that we just really fell in love with her. So she told us that she wanted us to keep her, to just have her. So we had her, and she's still around. She's actually in LA with my mom now.
Oh, okay.
Again. Yeah. But we had her, this is when we were in California. So then, so that after Lemmy passed, we got this little one, Abby, and she was great and just loving. And then we have one of the dogs that we have now she's a Cane Corso Mastiff, or Italian Mastiff. They're big Mastiffs, and her name is Ghost. We didn't seek her out. I was actually driving home from work one day, or from the gym, actually. And as I'm driving home, like a couple of blocks from the house, I see this dog try to cross the street and then kind of turn back and curl up in a corner in somebody's driveway. So I pull over and I start walking towards her, and I could tell she was scared. She was very young, very thin. It was a hot, hot day. The people that lived in the house came out, and they were putting water out for her. And I guess they had called animal control to come get her, but they hadn't come yet. And I looked at her and I was like, we can't let her go to the shelter. They're just going to put her down. I mean, at first I thought she was a Great Dane maybe, or a pitbull. I didn't know. You couldn't tell. So I called my husband, who was home, and I told him to walk over. And we still had stuff from our shepherd. We had his bed. We had dog food and treats and all this stuff. He came and walked over with some dog treats, and he walked right up to her. And you never know with dogs what they're going to do, but he put his hand out and she took the treat right out of his hand, like super, super gently. So he scooped her up in his arms, and we brought her in my car. We brought her home. She devoured food. She drank. She slept for 24 hours, literally. She didn't want anybody near her. So if my dog or the cat came by, she would growl a little bit, but that all changed. The next morning we got up and we tried to bring her to our little backyard, and you could tell she had been abused. She was just scared of her shadow, and she didn't know what to do. And that's where my other dog, the little Poodle one, was just such an angel. She started to bring out all her toys and kind of throw them at her, and just like trying to get her engaged. Out of nowhere, she just started jumping around and playing with my little dog. And that was it. They became best friends. I found her on the street, so we took her, of course, to the vet to get her checked for a microchip, and she didn't have one. Most of those dogs, they cut their tails, dock them, and they also cut their ears. Somebody had docked her tail, so she's got like a little nub, but her ears were never done. So she has the big floppy ears still, which I would never do any of that to any of my dogs. I think that's a really strange tradition. So then we took her to the vet, and the vet told us, they said, are you guys ready to adopt this dog? Like, is this something you would want to do? And my husband was super excited because he loves big dogs, and we missed Lemmy. Lemmy was a big shepherd. So I was worried that somebody was missing this dog. So they told me not to post signs because somebody might come and claim the dog and use it for the wrong reason, because it was a bully breed. So what I ended up doing is I called all the local shelters, and I called all the local rescues, and I told them that I had this dog that I found, and if anybody's looking for a dog that fits this description, this is the number. I checked Craigslist every day, people missing their dogs. And at the time, I don't think Facebook was really a thing yet, or maybe it was, but I wasn't like it is now. So I just tried my best for like maybe 2 months. I was just kept looking every day, seeing if anybody was missing this dog, and nobody. So I don't know what her story is. I don't know where she came from. It was a nice neighborhood that we lived in West Hollywood. So I don't know if somebody dropped her off there and just said, well, maybe somebody will pick her up, or if she escaped. Somebody had her because somebody cut her tail. She eventually started to learn to trust us. She's a shy, scared dog, so she doesn't like the sounds of children. I don't know if that's just like a Mastiff thing, or if maybe kids like picked on her when she was a baby. But we've had her now, she's 6, so we've had her almost 6 years. We found her when she was about 4 months old. And she's a great dog. She loves to play in the snow out here. She loves it. She loves to jump in the water and like lay it down in the water. As she started to get older, we noticed that she had a weird walk, like her walk was off. So we took her to the vet, and they did an x-ray, and they found out that she had major hip dysplasia and a dislocated knee. The hip dysplasia is pretty common in large breed dogs, but the dislocated knee, they couldn't tell what it was. They don't know if she got into an accident or if it was something she was born with or if it was inflicted by someone. It was one of those things, and our vet basically said her quality of life is the concern here. If we don't do something about it, she's not going to be able to walk, and she's going to be in pain. And so we had to make the decision. $6,000 later, we got the surgery done for her. We'll spend everything to take care of our animals. And that was just one of those situations. So she's older now. She's 6. So she's great. She runs and plays, but you can tell she gets a little sore sometimes. So we massage her hip and her leg and everything. But she's my angel. She's a great, great dog. And she's healthy and happy. And Ghost was just walked in front of my car. It was just happened to be at that exact moment that she just tried to cross the street while I was driving. So I feel like it was meant to be, that she was meant to be with us. And every day she's so sweet and grateful. And
what has Ghost taught you?
Unconditional love and learning to trust again. I mean, she definitely had a bad start to her life. Whatever she went through, and I don't try to think about it because it just kills me. Whatever she went through, she was terrified. And even now, she's very scared when we walk her. Her tail, like, she doesn't like to be walked. We have to literally drive her to the park, and that's what she likes. She likes to go to the park, and then we let her off leash, and she runs and she plays, and that's walking in the neighborhoods. She doesn't like it. She's become so much more trusting. When people come over to the house, she'll actually go up to them and sniff them and not just hide anymore. And with us, when we first got her, it maybe 2 days into it, she gave me kisses. She just started giving me kisses. She definitely attached herself to me quite quickly. And then my husband, she adores him too, but she's more skittish around men. So I think a man must have done something to her.
Right.
Just learning to trust and to not hold on to things. Move past any sad things that have happened to you in the past.
Thank you. And how big is Ghost?
Ghost is about 140 pounds.
Oh my goodness. Whoa.
Yeah, but she's actually, we need to put her on a little diet. She's a little bigger. If you look up those Italian Mastiffs, they're not the biggest Mastiff breeds. She would probably be good at 125. People do double takes when they see me walking her.
Who's walking whom, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You were starting your second story. Go right ahead.
His name is Saxon, and we got him about a year after we found Ghost. So we were still in LA, and this was all my husband's doing. Have you ever heard of ARME, that rescue group that they rescue beagles from labs? They specifically work with labs that do testing, and a lot of them, they test on beagles because their temperament is so calm and sweet. They test on them for a few years, and then some labs have worked with ARME so that they give them to them and then they adopt them out. And now they're actually doing another thing with this guy who goes to like Korea and rescues these dogs that are in the dog meat trade, which is really crazy.
Yeah.
And they bring them out here. So she's now doing that too. Her name is Shannon. She's the head. I guess my husband follows her on Facebook or something, but she had posted a picture of this dog that was 7 weeks old. Saxon came from a litter of 9 puppies. Whatever the story was, he was dropped off at a shelter at 4 weeks old, and the shelter was going to euthanize him because they had absolutely no room. And they called Shannon, if you can't pick these dogs up right now, we're going to have to put them down. But she went over there and picked them up and kept them for a few weeks, adopted everyone out except for this one dog, the biggest one of all of them. And she posted on Facebook with a picture and said, I need somebody to help foster this dog for me. My husband, Dean, he did it behind my back. He kind of contacted her, went over there, met him. He was just the cutest puppy, and picked him up. I was working and I came home and there's this puppy on our couch. And I was like, what is this? And, we already had 2 dogs and 2 cats. And we didn't have like a big place, 1 bedroom. I didn't know what to think. And the dog just won us over. He was just a sweetheart. And the funny thing was, our Mastiff, when we got her, she took on the role of the baby because our little Poodle was kind of her mama. She nursed her when she got the surgery. Like, they were best friends. And when we got this little puppy, Ghost, our Mastiff, took on the role of the mom. She became his protector, his mom, and they just became so attached immediately. And I have so many photos of them just sleeping together, curling up together, playing together. She was always very sweet with him.
Yeah.
They've never fought. They're not aggressive. Food, you can feed them together. They can share toys. She'll get grumpy every now and then if he's too crazy, but never anything serious. So he's what they call a foster failure.
That's right.
He's never had a bad day in his life. He's always been loved and cared for. So he's not as sad a story as Ghost. He's a pitbull bull terrier. He's kind of like, the RCA dog that
Yep.
He actually has like a dot around his eye. So he's got a really great look. And he's the kind of dog that, even though some people think those kinds of dogs are scary, people will approach him because he has a really sweet demeanor, really sweet face. And he's very, very friendly and loves dogs and cats and everything. He just loves all animals and people and kids. And he's just a great dog.
So what did Saxon teach you?
Everything about life. Enjoy it. Play. Be crazy. Do everything to its fullest. That was definitely his lesson to me. Saxon used to have a problem with chewing on our furniture.
Oops.
When we moved to Chicago, Ghost never did that. Ghost was an angel. She never chewed anything. She never did anything bad. But Saxon was eating everything, books and bed and shoes and furniture. So I was thinking I was going to bring him to a daycare during the day while we were gone. And we brought him in. Sadly, the daycare called us about half hour later and they said, yeah, this is not going to work. He's just not engaging with any of the other dogs. He's too scared. And so we picked him up. And as soon as I came with our other dog, it's like he just jumped and ran to her and was just so happy to see her. And the people couldn't believe it. They're like, oh my God, there he is. Like we had no idea he had that kind of personality. He just seemed so frightened. I just can't imagine them living without each other. They're so attached. And even now it's raining outside and Saxon is scared of rain and thunder and all that stuff. This is something he's had since he was a baby. And he just curls up with Ghost and he doesn't leave her side. So that's really just cute to watch. They're just great together.
If anybody were to ask you, why should I consider animal rescue? What would you say?
It teaches you to be selfless in a way, to love and to take care. To me, it's nice to, maybe if you're planning on having a kid, it's a good kind of segue into that. It teaches you responsibility. You definitely have to know that it is a responsibility. You're going to have to change your life a little bit. You can't just leave them at home all the time. You have to exercise them and take care of them. And you have to pay for food and vets and things. It's not cheap.
Sure.
If that's all okay, I think it's a very rewarding thing to do, rescuing specifically, because these animals, I feel rescues they're just so grateful when you see these videos all the time of these dogs being taken out of their cages in the shelter and being taken out to go home with a family. And they're always just so happy and loving. And I've never had a bad situation with that before. If you love animals, it's just a very rewarding thing to do. They're just very nurturing. I can't at this point imagine my life without animals. Having an animal teaches kids responsibility. It teaches to respect animals. And I think that's a good quality to have as a human being, just to be kind to animals is a great thing to learn.
Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful lessons. Yeah. How do people find Chrissy Gonzalez?
I have a website, ChrissyLovesYoga.com. Chrissy is spelled CHRISSY. I have my full yoga class schedule, a little information about myself and my training. I also write a blog, things about recipes or things that are going on or thoughts on yoga and life. My email is probably the best way to reach me, ChrissyLovesYoga@gmail.com. Facebook, you can find me at Chrissy Loves Yoga and Instagram as well. And I teach in Chicago and I teach different kinds of yoga classes. So I have classes that are good for beginners and I have classes that are great for people who have been practicing a long time. They want to challenge themselves more. So yeah, it's very easy to find me. Chrissy Loves Yoga.
Thank you. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Any other final thoughts, whether it's on yoga, on your dogs, on animal rescue?
One of the greatest things about yoga is it teaches you compassion and mindfulness. I feel that living life, always having that as your goal or as the way of living, it just makes a better life. And that's why I love rescuing animals and fostering animals and taking care of people in class and teaching people to live life in a more compassionate way, eating less meat and just being more mindful of what they do just in general to each other, treating people kindly, not being so angry and resentful and jealous. Things are going on with just how the political environment and there's just so much anger. And it's even more important now to take a step back and learn to be compassionate and love each other again.
We want to say thank you to Chrissy Gonzalez for sharing her story. We hope Chrissy's story inspires you to be open to happy accidents like when a dog or cat crosses your path. You never know what small miracles you'll find. If you'd like to learn more about Chrissy Gonzalez, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/51. Here's some new music by Luke Gartner-Brereton. He supplies all the music for Paw Print, and you can look him up at vanillagroovestudios.com. The name of this song is Love in London. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on Paw Print, you can email us at thisispawprint@gmail.com or go to our contact page, thisispawprint.com/contact. If you'd like to meet me or Nancy on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you can find our profile, This is Paw Print, all one word. If you'd like to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, or YouTube. Make sure to subscribe in order to get the latest episodes immediately. We want to say thank you to all of you, our listeners out there, for sharing Paw Print with your friends and family. And we want to welcome listeners from Piscataway, New Jersey, Silver Spring, Maryland, and in Australia, Canberra, the capital city. Remember that you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time with another great guest on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.